Dambala Matrix. Hero man, take your papa. Dambala Waido. Hero man, take your mama. Santa Maria. Hero man, take your mama. Hero man, take your papa. Yo, say go, take your mama. Mama Ocean. Yellow man, take your mama. Yamalia. Yellow man, take your papa. Obea, obea. Yellow man, take your mama. Oh, Battalion. Yellow man, take your mama. Yellow man, take your papa. Yo say go, take your mama. Chango, Chango. Yellow man, take your mama. Oh, Kumari.
There are so many different cultures here in New Orleans, and you get different rhythms from everything, you know. And all of that just kind of, it just comes, you know. You hear something and, oh, I've got to have that. I've got to play that, you know. And that's how it is, you know. I mean, we walk with rhythm, we eat with rhythm, we talk to each other with rhythm, we make groceries with rhythm, you know. Everything in New Orleans is rhythm.
This is, to me, the energy of the created comes from here. This is like the soup, the gumbo, all the various ingredients. It's a fertile place for music and for art, which is spirituality. It's food for the soul.
Music, especially this style of music, the New Orleans style of music, it's so happy, it's just so much fun, so spiritual. It's a major part of my life, you know, it is my life. When you really think about it, music is my life, you know.
In this city, music is something that's really a part of the way of life here. It's something that everyone kind of takes for granted that it's here and it's going to be around, and it means something to different aspects of your life. And it's not something that people get into with the idea that, hey, I'm going to play music so that I can become famous and make a lot of money.
It's very common to find people who have musicians in their family, and trying to figure out why New Orleans folks take their music for granted so much. I come up with the answer that it's because it's everywhere. It's in almost everybody's house and everybody's family.
We are number one in murder.
Let me put it this way.
Last in education.
The United States is last in education in the country and in the world, and Louisiana has gained the title of last in schools and education in the United States, and New Orleans is last in education in Louisiana.
I want things to live that it grows for days. But it keeps everything in the barnyard upsetting every way. Now when the dogs start to bark and the hounds begin to howl, when the dogs start to bark and the hounds in the house. You can bet your bottom dollar that little rooster's out there on the prowl. I said I've got a little red rooster, too lazy to crow for days. I've got a little red rooster.
I was born and raised here. And in school, when I was playing clarinet, we dabbled in what we call street music, second line music. And it was always, there's a special beat, a special drum beat that's associated with this music. And it's something that as a child you're trained to listen for. The closest description we found for this type of beat is funk, F-U-N-K. That beat was always there, that second line beat. You can't get away from it if you live here. It's all part of the musical scene. In fact, that's the one thing a lot of musicians from away from here, songwriters, they all come to New Orleans trying to capture something. And that something always seems to be that beat, that second line beat, that beat that's remnant, that has remnants of Africa in it,
hard all day. He'd come home every evening and say, son, please find a better way. I work 16 long hours in a dirty lumber yard. And when you get grown, boy, I don't want you working that damn hard. Daddy came home one evening with an old beat-up guitar. He said, son, it might be a long shot, but you might end up a star. Play the guitar, son. Play the guitar, son. Pick that guitar, boy, you never know. You just might be the one.
Play the Guitar Son is sort of a tribute to my father, I guess, because it's more or less how things actually happened between he and I, you know. He bought me my first instruments, you know. We didn't have a whole lot of money, but he always found a way to see that I had an instrument. And in turn, my interest in music kept me out of trouble. My father died while I was still at home. I was 21 when it happened. And I've got an invalid sister that's a year older than I am. So I had to like devote a lot of time to them to see to it that they didn't do without me. So I had to step into my father's shoes more or less. So I started driving a cab, and I didn't have a whole lot of time to devote to music.
Pick that guitar, boy, you never know. You just might be the one. Play the guitar, son. Play the guitar, son. Pick that guitar, boy, you never know.
From what I can see, just by driving through the city, there's a great disparity between rich and poor, because you can go 5 minutes in any direction and be in a rich area, 5 minutes in the opposite direction and be in quite a poor area.
One hot night down in New Orleans, it was so hot and wet I could swear somebody was turning up the heat and trying to make a roux out of me. I just walked out the door, trying to find something to cool me down. You see, me and the woman had been at it hot and heavy, and I was still mad about it, and the steam was coming up from the ground. I knew that girl was right, but a job is so damn hard to find. When it's hot outside and the rent is due and that little bitty baby's depending on you, the wrong thing, it sure can cross your mind. About it every night. Me and my out-of-work friend down at the bar. My buddy said, I've got a plan, everything's all set, and you won't even have to break a sweat and just drive the car. Sweat dropped off me like rain as I waited outside the fence. He went inside, I heard a shot. I waited and waited, but he never came out.
Some of the songs that I've written while I was sitting idle in the cab stand just waiting for a fare, you know, strumming the guitar and an idea coming out, just build on it, you know. Some of the songs I've written, and simply, you know, I would hear somebody say something in a conversation that would catch my ear, and I you know, thought it would make an interesting song.
Well, I'm a taxi cab driver.
I can't think of a better place to live right now, but I haven't traveled enough to find, you know, to compare it with a lot of different places. But I'm just anxious to see the world. I'm not going to say that I don't like it, because obviously I do. If it was that bad here, I would have found any reason to leave by now, any number of reasons. But the only thing bad here is that there's too much talent. And we're like, you know, there's a term we use here, crawfish in a sack. Everybody's trying to make it and everybody's pulling each other down, trying to get out of that sack. You know, and in New Orleans is the sack. There's talent everywhere. Just raring to go, waiting to get out. It's the best place in the world to learn music, but not to make a living at it, no.
There's just got to be a better way. And if my luck ever changes, I'm gonna quit this cab business someday. I'm a taxi cab driver, and my luck is bad. I'm having problems. Taxi cab driver, and my luck is bad. I'm having problems. Now I hear through the grapevine that the airport is moving, so I head on out there. Hope my luck's improving. Driving in the fast lane, forgetting about my speed. State trooper pulls alongside and said, "Son, stop and talk with me."
When I was a kid, there was always music in the house. My parents sang, my grandparents sang. I had uncles and aunts who sang, and there was always someone singing in the house, or there was music playing on the radio. And yeah, I sang, and in fact, when I first started into school in kindergarten, there was a band, a rhythm band. We played percussion instruments, and we learned to sing to hear the scales on the piano and sing along with them.
Well, my first musical experience, I think I was about 2 years old, and I heard like someone playing the saxophone in the closet. And I was told later that it was my dad, and that's what I had to listen to all the time, was my father playing the saxophone in the closet, because he didn't want to disturb people. So, yeah. But that was my first real musical experience. I'm sure even when my mom was carrying me, there was so much music that she was around that I was exposed to it then, because I think I came out with a microphone doing the splits, you know. So I was born singing. I was about 15, and I knew what I wanted to do. I mean, I'd known all through my life what I wanted to do was to be an actress, a singer, and a comedian, you know. And at 15, I just decided that it was time to get serious about the music and to learn all the ins and out of it and get down, you know. So I was about 15. And I said, this is now. So, you know, and ever since then, it's been, it's been a struggle, a fight, but it's been worth every moment of it, you know.
Laying on the front porch, my mama said, girl, you better come inside. I said, hey, ma, you wait a minute. Playing on the front porch. She said, kissing and hugging with them boys is not allowed. Hey, you're playing on the front porch. She said, hurry up, your dad's about to come home. I said, well, wait a minute. Playing on the front porch. That boy got scared and said, well, I'll call you on the phone. Hey, playing on the front porch, hanging around. Everybody, you know you wanna get down. Know just what you wanna do. Gonna make sure that you're through. Playing on the front porch. Playing on the front porch. She said, don't you play doctor with those boys no more. I said, who, me? Playing on the front porch. She said, hurry up or you won't be able to sit down. You're playing on the front porch. She said, yeah, I saw what you tried to do. I said, hey, ma, you wait a minute. Playing on the front porch. That boy said, well, I need some loving too. Hey, playing on the front porch, hanging around. Everybody, you know you wanna get down. I know what you wanna do. Gonna make sure that you're through. Playing on the front porch.
One of the things about New Orleans music that's quite different from music that comes from everywhere else in America is a certain rhythm and a certain rhythmic sense in the music. There's more of the African rhythm survived here in the music than it did anywhere else in America. It seems that, in particular during the days of rhythm and blues and rock and roll, and even the jazz, the bebop, and the other jazz that was happening at that time, the musicians from here played it with more emphasis on the rhythm and more emphasis on polyrhythms, on more than one rhythm happening at one time. And that still survives.
My brother Art Neville, brother Aaron Neville, brother Cyril Neville, and the musical director of this show, Mr. Herbie Hancock. Another friend is going to come up and join us. This gentleman is a really wonderful songwriter. In fact, he wrote a song that we recorded on our very first album as the Neville Brothers, Mr. John Hyatt.
Your eyes so big and shiny, you can see the whole family. Yellow moon, can you tell me if the girl that the love of man? Oh, yellow moon, yellow moon, yellow moon.
We're very blessed that God even decided to make me a member of that family, or even to, you know, to do anything with me. But I mean, my family has been around forever and ever, and I feel like I'm just a small little speck in that big pool of, you know, what we've got as far as music and talent. Because it's not just music that runs in the family. There's so many other talents, you know. And it's just like if you set off a sparkler and there's so many, it's one little stick, but there's so many pretty things that come out of it, you know. At the 4th of July, have you ever seen a sparkler? And you hold it and the kids wave it and the sparks shoot from it. It's like that, you know. My family is like one thing with millions of other beautiful things coming out of it. So, and I feel like I'm blessed. That's all I can say. My children sing, my grandchildren sing. So, you know, music is just keep coming.
I remember when I was a kid, in school, every kid that I knew had at least one person in their family who played music, you know, or one person who used to play music. And most of the people who get into playing music as kids get into it because an uncle, father, a grandfather, an aunt, or cousin, or somebody else plays music. And then when one person starts, someone else in the family starts too. I know there's a countless number of musical families here.
Now let's forget the shadows that pull us all apart. Catch the gleam in someone's eye that started with your spark. Happens on the inside, the place to keep the faith. The light that's shining in your heart is showing on your face. Can't you see those lights out there? Hey, hey. Lights. Can't you see the memory?
Well, he's always been my musical hero, always. I mean, but he's just my dad. That's all. He's just my dad.
You know, like I don't play with her band regularly, so I don't know her material, but when I go and sit in, it doesn't matter that I don't know what she's going to do because I can feel it somehow and it works. But when we first started working together, we had a band together for a couple of years. She was at first mostly interested in the music that was happening at the time. And I introduced her to the music of Billie Holiday and Dinah Washington and Sarah Vaughan and Charlie Parker and Miles Davis and all the Cab Calloway, the older musicians. And she really liked it and got interested in it. And Louis Jordan. And so she started changing her repertoire to more traditional stuff, but then she has her own approach to doing it, so that even doing the older traditional music, it's like it's something new because it turns into a Charmaine Neville creation.
I've heard those babies cry. I think I've watched them grow. They're going to learn more than I'll ever know. And I'm saying to myself, what a wonderful world. I'm here to tell you, I'm here to talk about it one more time. I said I think to myself, yeah. What a wonderful world. Oh, yes.
I think Louis Armstrong was the biggest influence on New Orleans ever, period. I think a lot of younger cats that listen to Louis Armstrong today that's playing music, technically still can't play like Louis Armstrong was playing. He was on, like Wynton Marsalis once stated, I heard him say it, Louis Armstrong was on the highest possible technical level, the highest technical possible level, getting mixed up a bit, that you could be on. And he was playing that stuff way in the 20s. And today, with all the modern technology and what have you, and all the books and stuff that they have now, trumpet players still can't match Louis Armstrong as far as technique. When I was a kid, my uncle used to come over. He used to play trumpet. His name was Percy. His name is Percy. And he used to let me play his trumpet every now and then. I never thought much of it, but I always loved the trumpet, because he was real good at it. And one day my mom brought me a trumpet, which was like years later. I was in the 8th grade. Came home one day, my mother had a trumpet for me and my brother, actually. 2 trumpets just laying on the living room sofa. And we were so excited, Right away we wanted to join the high school band, which is Lawless High School in the lower Ninth Ward area, not far from the Tremie area here. And I got in the marching band, played a lot of Mardi Gras parades and what have you, marched through the streets. When I got to Clark Senior High School in 11th grade, I met Philip Frazier. And me and him hooked up the Rebirth Brass Band. And it all started right in high school. A teacher just asked us to play for a party, a Mardi Gras party. He said, can you hook up a second line band for the Mardi Gras party, for the teachers? I said, sure, we can hook up a second line band, no trouble. So we got a lot of students out to school. We went down and played at the Sheraton Hotel. We played the party, and right after the party, they like threw us out because they were serving alcohol. They had to get rid of the kids, the kids. We went straight down to Bourbon Street and pull out our horns and start playing for tips, It was like 12 or 1 o'clock in the morning. We made lots of money, bam. And all the cats looked at each other and said, hey, let's do this every day. So every day we would leave school right after band rehearsal and go straight to the French quarters and play for tips. We would make 40, 50 bucks a man every day, 8 guys. Say, hey, we're gonna do this for a long time. We start bringing sort of the R&B music to the street, mixed together with the jazz. And now it's at least 30 young brass bands, younger than a Reedberg, hanging around town right now. Brass band has expanded like overnight. You wouldn't believe how many brass bands are around. There's even a girl brass band that's around town now, out of St. Mary's, Pinettes. And I think it's really important for the younger people to get into jazz, especially the traditional jazz, because not too many people really are really doing it, It's really a historical thing.
The spirits appear in my dream. I did not call, or so it seemed. So it seemed. Still there come some with drum and tambourine. Some with flutes and some with strings. One recite, another sing. Yeah. I still recall in the morning after all, as if I knew them every word, but not in the way the spirit sung. I had to use my voice and hand to make the music from a spirit land.
I call on them every day, my friends, both this side and the other side. You can call somebody. You don't have to use a telephone. You think about them. You can send out your energy, and it goes around them and communicate with them. I think that's the energy that the music is on. It's like people you don't even have to understand about music or theory or even the words, you know, to like benefit from it. It comes into the subconscious, whether you hear it with your here and now mind or not, is there, you know. And it does good. It's food, you know, when it's prepared with love.
These nights the spirits appear in my dream. I did not call, or so it seemed, so it seemed. Still there come some withdrawn in tambourine. Some with flutes and some with strings. One recite, another plea. Oh, song I still recall. In the morning after all.
Yeah, my dad was, he was gone quite often, being in the Air Force. And one time he, because I used to get like really blue whenever he would go, because he would go for like months at a time, or long stretches. And he brought me home a radio one day, like a shortwave radio. I had like a little map of the world. And at one channel, I could pick up it was like, and it sounded like an airplane flying along. So I would imagine, like, that's my dad up there. Every once in a while, they go, Roger, you know. And I would fall asleep listening to that, like, that's cool. But during the night, they would crank up these giant radio stations, like WLS and Ernie's Record Mart, because they would, like, you know, take up all the airways, and I'd wake up in the middle of the night, and there would be this blues going on. And I would, you know, be digging it. After a while, I started, like, I knew some of the words, and somehow I just put the two together, you know, like, I associated, like, the airplane flying along, my dad is okay, my dad up in the sky that I'll never see, you know, and blues, you know, it's all cool. Yeah, well, I'll tell you what, the way I grew up, there wasn't really a lot of time for music. It was a working farm, way out in the country. You couldn't just go to town, major trip to get to town. And it's unrelenting. Your time is always spent, you know, tending to something or working. The cow has to get milked at a certain time, or the milk turns blue, or if you don't scratch the chickens at a certain time, and they're waiting. They're waiting for you. If you come at 17 minutes after the hour, they're lined up, you know. And the hens wouldn't lay if they don't scratch them. You had to slop the hogs at a certain time. You don't want them to eat their babies or whatever, you know. And you got a lot of work. And when they would have music, it was in these big roadhouses, and everybody was there, babies and dogs and all the old folks at one end and the guys on one side and the girls on the other. And all the kids hanging around by the door. And it involved everybody. You know, it was almost like church in a way. More fun.
Of the
pit bull. I'm howling for my baby. I'm the pit bull. Boiling for the fight. I'm the pit bull. Howling for my baby. Don't get you better. You will on my mind. You know I got a bad reputation, baby. Ain't no joke. I play my music. I go for the through. Don't you mess with my woman. I won't tell you twice. I don't bar before I bite. I'm a pit bull. Howling for my baby. I'm a pit bull. Boiling for the fight. I'm a pit bull. Howling for my baby. Don't get you better. You ever my bite. You know I go down to the kettle. Well, they all know my name, baby. Jim and gunpowder. That's the name of my game. I play my music, I knock 'em dead. Got the canine connection in the back of my head. End of 1959, beginning of 1960, my little cousins and I put together a band. My cousin had no shoes, so he borrowed my grandmother's little old lady high-heeled black shoes. And we played, we got $3 for the band and all the Cokes we could drink. And we were like, we must have drank a gallon of Coke each, you know. And went on from there. Well, I had to learn a lot of different things, you know. I would walk into like lumberjack bars, you know, and one guy would say, play me a song. And another big guy would like want to hear the jukebox, you know. If you play a song, I'm gonna break that guitar on your head. You know? If you don't play a song, I'm gonna break that guitar on your head. I played, you know, down in Texas, and I played out west, and everywhere you go, like people got certain favorite songs, you know. Down in the islands, you know. I was exposed to a lot of different types of music, you know. Everything from jazz to hillbilly, country and western music. The music of the church. But most of my life, although I always played music, I worked very hard in construction. I worked on the levees, I worked on the railroads, I worked on bridges and highways and in the shipyards and building houses. Most of the musicians I know here play in several bands just to pay their rent. They'll play in 3 or 4 different groups. So really it's like one large homogeneous band that takes different names and configurations. I have different musicians every time I play. I would have said goodbye, baby, oh yeah. But I was fixing a broken string, yeah. I would have said goodbye, baby, oh yeah, yeah. But I was fixing a broken string, yeah. By the time I noticed you were missing, yeah, oh baby, I had to get back up and sing. I had to get back up and sing, baby. Well, we have 4 corners, east, west, north, south. And we have up and down. And this is like a conscious display of awareness of these things, of these energies, of the beautiful geometry and symmetry of the creation. And it's a place to meditate. It's a place that has good thoughts for everyone's development and nourishment. And it's fun. It's fun to do. If the spirits want a certain thing, they'll lead me right to it. I'll be walking down the street, and then a little old man will come out and put out a box right there. And he'll open it up, and I'll see just the thing that mean, it's amazing. It's like whatever I need, like they'll bring. They want it, you know. Some people call it hoodoo. Some people call it voodoo. Hoodoo is more of a mixture of indigenous beliefs and ones that arose in the New World. But it deals with, to a lot of people, what is the unknown, which can be a pretty frightening thing to many people. So you get a lot of aura of foreboding things, like, for example, what is represented by Legba and Gay Day, sex, drugs, rock and roll, death. It can be a scary thing, you know, but I don't see it that way personally. You know, it's part of life. Like being born can be a pretty scary thing too, to a spirit, to a soul. And I think that in the future that Western civilized intelligent mind will be turning more and more to the first peoples to regain their insight of the true nature of physics and the circle. We've done things in a square for so long that we need to remember the values of the circle, which our native brothers and sisters are waiting to show to us when the time is right. The circle, American, the native Indians, everything is a circle. The earth is a circle, the cycles of the seasons. We're the invaders, you know, with our square concept, Squaresville. You know, perhaps before it's too late, like the Aborigines of Australia, deciding to leave, to go to the next dimension. Hopefully we can learn something from these beautiful people. My mother is Mohican from the Green Mountains, White Mountains. My father is Choctaw from here in Louisiana. And I grew up in the woods. That was my friend. That was where I went every day when my work was finished. Still, to live in the city, if I find myself getting upset or aggravated or worried about what time it is, I know that it's time for me to go back to the land, feel the mud between my toes, and to take the water from the rivers and the bayous and just rejoice in it.
Sometimes I walk all by myself. I don't want to talk to no one else. And I close my eyes and I feel the spirit rise. And it feels so good to me. I can tell I'm supposed to be. When the spirit takes control, oh yeah.
growing up in my house as a kid was a great experience because it's all what I use now, part of my experience as a musician, and my father being a musician, as far as I can remember in the late 40s, that he had lessons at our house on Saturday afternoon, and he would have at least 35, 40 young musicians in our living room playing his arrangements. He's teaching them how to read and to have a better understanding of music. And out of those musicians who came through there, a lot of them went on to become very famous musicians. Some who it's a big cycle. I even teach some of the grandchildren of some of those musicians right now, or the sons and daughters of some of those musicians. So those experiences were very valuable because all of that music is recorded in my mind, and that's what I draw from those experiences to keep my music going, you know. One, two, three, four. NOCCA, N-O-C-C-A, is abbreviation for the New Orleans Center of Creative Arts, which is a part of the public school system here in New Orleans. Students come from different high schools to this school. They spend a half a day over here and a half a day at the regular schools. We have some great graduates like Wynton Marsalis, Bradford Marsalis, Terrence Blanchard, Donald Harrison, Wendell Pierce, which is a great young actor right now, and Harry Connick Jr., just to name a few of our graduates. It's so a lot of famous people have come through here. We come together to play ensemble-wise, and that's what jazz is all about, is being able to come together and play in a group, in an ensemble. But then there's that part where you step outside and you say, okay, here I am. This is me. This is what I'm thinking. This is how I feel about it, you know. And then we come back as one and play together.
And Mr. Curry sit down and tell us about life and tell us how can we relate music to life. Mr. Curry isn't just music right here. Mr. Curry is always like a pyramid. Mr. Curry have music, and you have life, and you keep branches. It's like a number triangle. So that's one thing about Mr. Curry. Mr. Curry really knows how to teach music to students. He knows how to teach. Mr. Curry is a very good teacher. Mr. Curry knows how to get points across to everyone.
You know, that's something that you have to grow into, have a conversation. When we play and Ronald is copying behind me, it's not just he's playing the piano. I'm playing and I'm leading because I'm playing it. No, I mean, when I play something, Ronald might answer. If I go da-da-da-da, da-da-da-da, you know, I play something, I'm outlining a chord, he hears that, he plays it on the piano. What we're doing, we're talking, and he's agreeing with me.
Right.
Now, sometimes we might not agree, and that's when he'll sit back and he'll say, okay, I'm listening. I'm going to listen to what you say. And then if I agree with it, I might hear it in my solo. But if we don't understand what he says, we understand what he says.
Right.
When we get to the point where we totally agree, that's you know, the special moments
in
of
the
music.
pocket.
That's when you can catch something at that moment and you can never again recapture it.
Music is just one of the ways that I express myself. And I like to appreciate someone else expressing themselves. So that's why not only being a musician means you can play, but it means being able to listen. And if you can respect somebody else's expression as well as express yourself, so you can get a point across what you want, you know, those are very integral parts of being musicians. But I think that's what music is for me. It's just expression. It's a language.
I really believe the whole essence of jazz is it's the spirit that where that music is coming through, not so much coming from, but coming through, because I really believe that we all are instruments just like the instruments we play, and the music, if our spirit is right, will come through us, you know. And some of us just have that a little bit more than others. Maybe our hearts are not in the right place or whatever. I don't know, you know, but the spirit has a lot to do with where the music sounds.
Tell you in a few minutes.
religion itself, I can, like I said, I can always ask for guidance. And, you know, if I got a problem or if I'm sad or if I'm slacking back, then I can say, you know, give me the motivation to do what I got to do. So, like I said, it's just going to always be there to help me.
When do you find a jazz musician with this guy's mode? Huh? He brings the Bible to the club.
You have to have some kind of spiritual upbringing or whatever, you know, and it started, like I said, in church. Like most good singers, you know, or most singers, you start in church, you know, and you don't, I don't know, because you're singing rhythm and blues, it doesn't mean you're supposed to take the church completely out of what you're doing, or your religion, you know, whatever it is. This enhances you more to be good at what you're doing, because you have the faith in yourself, and you have faith in God, and you have faith in yourself. So, and without faith in God, you can't do any of it, you know. So religion is the biggest topic in any performer's life. To make a sad song out of a good song, you know. This is why most of the blues songs I do sing are more complicated to play than most straight-ahead blues, because I have more changes in the bluesier type songs that I do. You know, I don't just confine myself to 1, 2, 3 beats, or 4, you know, or 5, you know, just something different. You have to sort of like sway off and say, wow, what change was that, you know? So this is what I like doing. Yeah. I don't like this.
I'm gonna love you like nobody's loved you. Come rain or come shine. High as a mountain and deep as a river. Come rain or come shine. I guess when you met me, it was just one of those things. But don't ever bet me, 'cause I'm gonna be true. If you just let me, yeah.
The reason I do jam sessions the way that we do them, it's because I try to create a situation in which a younger person can come, say like a young boy or girl who are just starting out on the fiddle or the accordion. I try to create a situation where these young children can come into this situation and play behind these old masters, you know, like Mr. Aldous Roger, who is 78 years old. Well, here's playing, maybe this young boy can come and study this unique style that this man is doing on this instrument, or this man playing the fiddle. It's a situation when the younger generation can learn the style of the music, not just learn the melodies, because it's not the melodies that makes this music wonderful and unique. It's the style that the melodies are played in. And that seems to be a problem today, is because everybody wants to quickly pick up the fiddle, or they want to quickly pick up the accordion and learn one song, but maybe in a very rock and roll style, or very the style of today, which has none of the uniqueness and none of the beauty of the old style. When the German immigrants came to Louisiana in the mid-1850s, they brought this German-style accordion, which we call the Cajun-style accordion. Even the Germans call it Cajun-style now, because it's so popular amongst the Cajuns and not with the Germans anymore. Well, that was an instrument that had a very, very, very loud sound. It could be heard in the house dances where people were making a lot of noise. The fiddle couldn't be heard, but the accordion had a lot of power, volume. It also had an accompaniment to the treble side. You had a melody line here, and you had the oompa oompa on the left-hand side. And so you had power, you had maintenance free, you had an instrument that wasn't really affected by humidity, and you had this accompaniment, this bass and chord accompaniment.
The word Cajun is a derivative of the word Acadian. And the Cajuns originally came from a place called Poitou, mostly from Poitou in France. And they escaped religious persecution for the most part, and they needed more freedom, more space, a place to farm. So they crossed the ocean and went to a part of Canada, which was French at the time, called Port Royal, and settled there. And eventually the English, there was a war, and the English took over this whole area where the French Acadians were living. But everyone lived in peace for a while. The Acadians were speaking French, but the English let them speak French and have their farms in Canada. And eventually, the French came to take back their French territory from the English, and the Acadians refused to bear arms against the French, you know, with the English. So the English were furious, and they threw all of these French-speaking people out of Canada on. They'd go up the East Coast, but no one would receive these French-speaking people. So eventually, they'd go back to France. They went to French Caribbean, and eventually they all ended up back here and just came westward to find a place with a lot of free land where they could settle and farm and just have freedom. So they ended up out here and were so isolated they could maintain their French language and develop the culture.
Il y en a une fille de 14 ans, voilà grand Dieu, elle est si belle. Un jour elle dit de son papa, quartiers en guerre. 4 ans de temps et le bateau au colonne de Sarajevo. Batalogé, paix sans paix. Bonsoir, bonsoir, mes beaux yeux noirs. J'aimerais les voir encore une
They were definitely punished in school for speaking French. As soon as Roosevelt came up with his New Deal that everyone had to be an American, anybody that was different was had to go underground, and this is what you're talking about. So it became a stigma to speak French and be Cajun, definitely. Anybody that wanted to be a success had to pretend like they didn't speak French.
French is not as useful language as it used to be even 20 years ago, and beyond that 50 years ago and 100 years ago. We don't do business in French anymore for the most part, which is unfortunate, and we don't have French television, which is unfortunate. We do have some French radio, which is good, but as a whole, you know, it's going to go away, and I have a feeling that's the most integral part of our culture is the language. So I'm sort of adamant about continuing to sing in French and to speak French, because, you know, to me, that's the essence.
Cajun music is, I would say, at least almost 2/3 early American country music translated into French with a little bit of maybe filet and a little bit of red pepper and a little bit of rhythms and things thrown in, and it's all in French, and it's possibly not recognizable to a lot of people that these are early American country tunes, but many, many of them are. Your earliest Cajun music is the early fiddle tunes of Dennis McGee, Wade Fruget, early fiddle tunes. Some of the early accordion music is early Acadian, like the mazurka and the polkas and things like that. That's some early Acadian type tunes. And then the ballads, that's the other very authentic Acadian thing.
And through Dennis, we kind of get a sound of what it might have been like here in Louisiana at the turn of the century, a little later. This is I simply call this a reel to Dennis McGee here.
You don't hear a lot of that anymore. It's not dancehall music, and we're at present, Cajun music is dancehall music as a living tradition at this time. So what you'd mainly hear would be the really popular Cajun tradition is country western songs translated into French, played with electric instruments. That's the real Cajun music today. The traditional Cajun music is more home music.
this is a very difficult place to forge a living out of, although there's plenty to fish and hunt and farm, but it does take its toll. And I think all that goes into the music so that you work hard, but you play hard. So at the same time, the music continues to evolve. There's a certain thread that you can't let go of, and that is that it's French, and that it's music that it's just withstood time. So I always find it very intriguing to compose new songs, because it's really a difficult test, is to put one of your new songs next to a traditional song that has like 200 years of road work. So I think if you can do that and it sounds agreeable, then I think you've accomplished something. Because for any culture to survive, it's got to continue. It's got to continue developing new music and new styles and different ways of carrying on, but at the same time, not to lose touch about where you came from.
Alors les haricots, né?
A trail ride is, let's see, it's kind of traditional. A bunch of people get together on Sunday afternoon and they ride horses. Just ride around, they drink, have fun, listen to music, they drink, and they drink, have fun, and then they come back and then we have a big dance afterwards, you know?
Come on and make it to me. Whoa, sweet pea. Come on and make it to me. Whoa, bye, whoa, bye, whoa, bye, whoa, bye, whoa, bye, whoa, bye.
I play Zydeco because it's been in my family for a real long time. My dad's played Zydeco, my grandfather played Zydeco, my uncles played Zydeco. So it's been a tradition that's been handed down for quite some time.
So the music that we call Zydeco existed and was created in the rural areas, in the prairies where we are now, outside of New Orleans and Baton Rouge and all that, although a lot of the blues influence did come from the Delta. But it's mainly a rural music. Most of it's in French, or the old style was in French, and it began to evolve, I guess around the turn of the century, whatever, picking up the accordion.
It's impossible for a black man today, in 1995, to go to a white people's dance because he would be in jeopardy of being hurt. The blacks are tolerant of the white people going to their dance, but the white people do not want to mingle with black people here.
Yeah, you're right.
The music here is like food. You know, people expect it. They have to have it. It's got to be good. They're used to good stuff. And it's like restaurants around here. If you see a restaurant open, chances are it's good and it's been open forever. Because if it's not, it ain't open a week. You know? Same with the music. You know, it's like you can go anywhere on any given night and just find delightful music.